I guess one of the things that strikes me as well is sometimes that sense of, having that continuity and predictability. It can look to the outside eye who doesn't really understand that we're actually not doing much, that we're being lazy, that why can't you be bothered to change what's on that table or in that area? How do you go about getting that across to, maybe particularly to families?
I think that's one of our roles as educators, as we have the responsibility to talk about what we do, about our practice, and not to talk about our practice in a way that's not understandable. I think it's very transparent. In our space, we don't have lots of things hanging on the rooms, lots of artwork on the rooms. The colours are reasonably muted. The rooms don't change significantly, it's all very slow, but we actually try and sort of say this is actually what the reasons why, explaining about this reason for continuity, about predictability is important for children's learning, about having spaces that have beautiful things but things that children can pick up and play with, about not having really overt primary colours everywhere, because I think it's just unsettling and the impact that it can have on children's behaviour, having quiet environments.
But for me too, I think it's about explaining to parents why we must have the painting easel out every day, and finding ways to demonstrate to parents how over time, with the same beautiful materials, children's work changes. And when we give children lots of chance to practice painting, that's when we see the beautiful things that perhaps we can recognise more, like their first drawing of themselves and things. But if we only put it out once a week as a novelty, it's like anything we do, children never get any better at it. If we only have carpentry, on high days and holidays, really, they'll never learn to bang a nail in. But actually, if we have it every day, children can make amazing things, and they learn new skills. And I think sometimes we've forgotten perhaps about the skills that we want children to teach, and trying to provide something different and something novel. So for me, I guess we always go with the same predictable things, because we know over time, as children build with blocks, they build differently, and things become more advanced. And I think our job as educators is to push that boundary with children.
And I wonder, I was just going to say, I wonder whether sometimes it's that the children's what they produce by having those materials over blocks of time is actually sort of the best evidence, that parents actually see that change and they suddenly realise that's why it's important we have painting every day, or why we have blocks every day.
And I think that's is being able to unpack the journey of children's learning, and being able to show parents, look, present, if you've got children who've made this amazing thing with blocks and and you can actually, may have taken photographs or videos, and you show that to parents, but you unpack that against the EYLF. Because that is such rich language, and I think it's very accessible to parents. I think they just sort of say it's a wow moment, because you can link so much into literacy and numeracy, into social engagement, sense of agency, and parents will say wow, because often they're struggling with this notion of is play important, and we know that play is critical. We know that consistent environments are critical. We know that the environment, but being able to sort of say, well, this is what it looks like. This is how children's learning looks, and can you see what they learn? And they go, oh, I get this. But it's one of our responsibilities as educators to be actually able to unpack that and to actually go back and use the EYLF, and also use all of our theoretical knowledge, but in a way that's actually accessible and transparent, not caught up in jargon. I think is really important.
And I think through those everyday activities that we give children and allow them just to practice and refine their skills, and even thinking about the block area, how children work together and cooperate, and weave in all those notions of perhaps drawing a plan, that early literacy things and the numeracy things about, these two blocks equal one of those, and which size will I need to make that bridge and things. And if we document that, that's documentation of children's learning and that journey that they're on. And I think that's really important, and I think, as Neville said, that's our job.
But even like showing a child outside playing in a creek bed and just placing rocks in a pattern around a larger rock. So to show that to a parent and say, look, this is demonstrating literacy, it's demonstrating numeracy. And they go, and it's wow. They sort of think of their child saying, oh, this is different. This is not what, there's often they're surprised, but we've actually given them something else around just that really simple observation. And using really simple tools, that stuff that's just available that it didn't cost anything.
I suppose the other side of it though is if we're going to have these kind of consistent environments, obviously we need to give some thought to what those consistent materials are. That there would be some materials I think that we could have out every day and children wouldn't necessarily get good at doing anything with them because the materials themselves are inherently fairly limiting. Versus, as you said, blocks, a baby can play with a block and a 5-year-old can play with that same set of blocks and they can play with it every day for that 5 years and do something different.
I guess that's in our planning about thinking about what we're going to have in our environments. I guess to me it is about having those materials that are open-ended, so that have more than one possibility, so that they grow as the children grow. And for me, I guess that's always been a measure of what I buy. So, how can this material be used again and again and over time? And I even think like beautiful silk scarves that, that babies can just rub between their fingers, and then other children later on, they can use them for a range of things. So, yeah, dress up with them, dance with them. I mean, a number of things that children can do. So
And I guess I wonder sometimes, do we spend our money on buying lots of different things and maybe small amounts of lots of different things rather than concentrating on a smaller number of materials or pieces of equipment, but actually getting enough of them that children can use them in a really interesting way?
I think that's a really important thing. It's one of the things that we've been thinking about is you build on collections of stuff. So you build on collections of construction toys, so it's the same construction but you buy more. So, and it's expensive. Resources are expensive, so you need to buy good quality and make sure you've bought enough so that if you've got a group of children who want to play with it, they've actually got enough for everybody, not just three pieces each.
Nothing more frustrating than the construction toy that when more than 3 people want to play with it, everyone only gets one wheel and you can't really do anything with one wheel.
If you're buying space Lego, buy lots of tubs of space Lego because everyone wants to build with it. So.
Yeah, that's true, and that is very frustrating for children. But I guess that's about knowing children, knowing how children learn, thinking about that really hard, not getting caught up into buying the next new beaut thing that's come out in the catalogue. And there is a place for lots of the beautiful things that are in the catalogue, but I think sometimes we do need more of the same things rather than a larger variety of things in our
Especially
services.
if you've got babies and toddlers. Babies, it's no good just having one wheelable trolley. You're better buying 4 wheelable trolleys so that everybody has got one, and then we're always buying double of everything or 3s of everything, just because otherwise this ability to share and have everybody have the one bit of equipment. So you don't tend to buy lots of it, you just buy a few but buy many of the same.
And then for me, I think it's having the other bits and pieces that you can add on to block play, like the bits of timber that come in from outside, or plants and trees and things, or pieces of fern that you can trim off your bushes occasionally, and I mean all of those things I think add richness and textures and other things to extend children's play. I mean, I guess we see that even with good quality animals, small animals. I mean, they can be used in a variety of ways by a variety of children really differently, and children engage with them for long periods of time.